Good morning, everyone. One of the most recent pens I got on eBay was this Eversharp Symphony set. And oddly enough, I didn't have this exact one. I have a couple of these. These are boxes that were also desk set holders, so you would, if you had your fancy desk, you could put your pen and pencil in here and you'd have a desk set. My camera is not far enough away for you. You understand. And you'd put your stamps or your whatever you need in there. But I don't have use for that. As you see, my desk is too crowded to have something like a desk set on it. But anyway, this is the Eversharp Symphony set. Now, this is, I was going to start this video by saying this is the only pen that I know of that has been on the cover of Time magazine. And I might be wrong. I thought it was this right there, but that certainly doesn't look like this pen, unless the artist who painted this did a bad job of rendering it. Raymond Loewy is a very famous industrial designer from the last century, 20th century, the middle of the century. And he sort of invented or promoted streamlining. And he has a very funny book called Never Leave Well Enough Alone, where he has a picture of an egg, which he did not. Though I'm sure he would love to take credit for designing. He did not design it, but he mentions the egg as a perfect design because a square wouldn't work. As well, going through the system of a chicken. He designed Air Force One. He designed this famous train. He designed the Avanti Studebaker car. He designed the Greyhound bus. He talks about the Greyhound bus interior fabric choice as being a combination of PP, the color of pea, crumbs, and things that would normally, if the color were anything other than those, it would look dirty. So he tried to pick a color that would look dirty to begin with, so that when it got soiled by crumbs and baby pea, it wouldn't look so bad. Anyway, he also did the Lucky Strike cigarette case, cigarette carton, the Coca-Cola bottle, or Coca-Cola machines. Anyway, I didn't have in my collection this exact pen, I guess, or I may have had it and subsequently sold it, but I don't remember. I couldn't find it. So this is a fully gold fill cap with this nice offset parabolic curve. The very first pen I bought from the company that I now own was a Symphony pen without that little parabolic curve. This is the one that Raymond designed. They later tweaked it and made it boring. Or more boring, if you don't like Raymond Loewy. But it was a pen like this, except it had a burgundy barrel like this, and a little ding, or something was wrong with it, I remember. But it had a beautiful nib, an adjustable nib, which didn't belong in the pen, but that's the way that Fanny Friedman, the woman that owned the pen company that I now own, put it together for me. I asked to see I asked for a flexible nibbed pen, and she put that nib in a Symphony pen, and it was magnificent. And it was $12, I remember. It was missing its little adjuster, but I didn't care because I wanted it to be fully adjusted. But what was neat about it is and this was a factory version of it. The nib, had its tine there, and it had its slits here for the adjuster to go up and down. But it also had two little slits here that made it really, really, really flexible. And one day I was writing with it, and I hit a snag of the paper, and it was the printed line in an old ledger book, and somehow there was just that little tiny bit of difference when I was holding the pen and moving it in such a way that it cracked right like that. And I wore a black armband for a month, I think, after that. The Symphony pen is, I think, less interesting than the Skyline. I love the Skyline design. I'm one of the few that do really love it. I really like that design. But the Symphony pens are Raymond, are less good. I like the Dreyfus design better. But the Symphony pen was made during the death throes, I think, of the Eversharp company, because their plastics are really crappy. They often warp. To get one that isn't warped is not easy, and this never seems to want to work quite right. And on top of that, if that wasn't enough, often the inner plastic part of the cap comes loose from the outer, and it doesn't screw on right. Now, of course, I don't have a sample of that to show you, but you can sit there and you can screw forever, and it's not going to actually, it'll tighten up, but it's just is loose from the inside. Later on, here's another Symphony cap. They made some of these pens that have metal threads there for some reason, and I don't think these caps are interchangeable. Let me just try that out to see if they are. See? No. So it's just one other version of this pen that was made as, I presume, an improvement, though it seems to me, adding, they had to add this metal bit here. They had to tool the cap slightly differently to make it work. But again, this is on their deathbed here. But see, look at this one. There's a sharp ridge down the center of that clip, which goes nicely with the parabolic curve. Now, this early Raymond Loewy version doesn't have that. Come on, Raymond. Anyway, and look how this is further up. This is a much nicer design, I think, than this one. Anyway, let's go back to this. Put this away. I'm just rambling. This is a rambling video. I mean, not that all my videos are rambling. You ought to know that by now. So this one has its original price sticker, $6. I don't know if that was for the entire set or just the pencil. Ignore the pencil for the moment. This nib, if I were to uncap this nib and look at it, I'd say, okay, this is a really boring nib. But it's not really boring, actually. Or maybe I'm allowing boring nibs to excite me these days. But it has It has a little bit of give to it. I wouldn't call this flexible. I mean, it is flexible. I will call it flexible. Some people wouldn't call it flexible, but they'd be wrong. It's flexible. It's not very flexible, but it's pretty good. It doesn't look like it would be flexible though. That's the thing. If I uncapped a pen at a pen show, if I saw this at a pen show, I probably wouldn't even try it, because I would think, okay, that's just a boring, firm nib. It would do that, but it does this. So always try out a pen if you can, because they actually will be quite fun. As you can see, this is warped. Maybe you can't see, but it's warped. It's just what the plastics did in this particular brand, and I don't get it. Okay, so that goes over here. Other pens that I recently got in my hot little hands is this one. This is a Schaeffer Imperial thing with one of these inlaid nibs. Now, normally I don't like pens that are this modern, and normally I don't like a nib like this, because I always feel that if I press down too hard on it, it'll come up from its position and I won't be able to ever get it back down again, because it's glued, cemented into this, or attached to the barrel, and I can't take it out and tweak it. But anyway, I liked the pen because it seemed solid, and I liked the fact that it was a touchdown and not a cartridge pen. There's something about cartridge pens that I just can't abide. And there's a nice solidity to this pen that surprised me. So even though I would not normally have this in my collection, it's in my collection. So there. Another pen I recently got was this one. This was at the Philadelphia Pen Show, and I love it because it's the younger brother to, a pen like this, the longer version. Now, someone was telling me that it has the wrong cap. It's supposed to have a lady's cap, a lady's ring top cap, but I don't think that's correct. I think most of the caps I see that have a clip are longer caps, and the clip itself is longer, as you can see. So this short clip and this short cap, I think, belong on a short pen. That's where now all you and you and you are all screaming at your computer saying, oh, Pierre doesn't he understand pens? Of course he's wrong. Well, I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I don't care, because I like it. Okay, and it even has a name on it, D Fleck. D Fleck. Okay, put that down there. Put that over there. This is another pen I recently got, and how common a pen is this? You're saying, why does he want that? That's so common. Well, it isn't that common, believe it or not. This will go in my collection. I have a collection of Schaeffer balance pens, streamline balance pens, and I'm trying to collect all of the different standard sizes. And though this size is not uncommon, it's not easy finding one that has the chrome trim on it. They often, like this one, have plating wear, and they can turn ugly pretty quick. And the plating wear, when you see the yellow through the silver, that is, I don't mind it when you see the under brassing on a gold fill clip, but I really don't like seeing the gold and the silver. But this has a nice little visualated window, still very clear. There's not all that many tooth marks. And it has, what kind of nib is it? A number 3 or a feather touch, or what is this? Hold on, let me look. Junior. It says Junior, Schaeffer Junior. And sometimes these Schaeffer Juniors and feather touches and number 3 nibs, unlike their normal lifetime nibs that are meant to last a lifetime, and they can last a lifetime because 9/10 of them are firm and thick, and you could pound them into the wall and hang your coat on them without a problem. But the cheaper nibs, the ones that they sold without the lifetime guarantee, and the juniors have less gold in them, their hills, and they can be flexible. Now, what could be better than cheaper and flexible? I don't know. You tell me. What's better than that? Okay, you saw my attempts at this repair yesterday. Or yesterday I made the video. Whether you saw it, I don't know. And it still has a nice moppy nib. I think if I spent more time, I might be able to make it tighter, meaning that the thin, I might be able to make thinner, the thin line. It was before I fixed it, but it was really quite bent up beforehand. So it's one of these pens that will work perfectly fine for me or for another calligrapher for doing certain kinds of work. If I had to write someone's name on a place card, this would be a good nib for that, because the fines, it starts out thick, pure, and can get thicker to make it look, quote, pretty, unquote. But you could see that in a dimly lit, candlelit, fancy dinner at a wedding or something. If I used a pen that had a finer fine, the fine lines might be too dim to see in the limited light. So a pen like this, I might think most of the time is too noisy, starts out too broad, but it will work perfectly fine. Didn't have a cap. This cap doesn't belong here, but it works perfectly fine to protect the nib from the trauma that it suffered earlier. Another pen that I bought at the Philadelphia Pen Show that was missing a cap. I have found a cap that fits enough. This is a Waterman pen. I know I've got caps that, slip caps that can work better than this one. But a lot of my Waterman 12 caps have cracks in them, so this one doesn't have a crack. So it works perfectly fine. This nib was, come on, right. It's a perfectly lovely nib. Nice, springy flexibility to it. And because it didn't have a cap, I got it in a grab bag with other pens, and I was very happy with when I tried it out that this worked as well as it did. One of my pen collector friends looks at a Waterman 12 like this, and he holds it up, and he says, why was there any need to make a pen better than this? This is, pen manufacturing could have stopped at the Waterman 12, and no one would be, the world would be a better place, perhaps, if they just said, okay, this is perfect, no need. Okay, so you have to unscrew it and use an eyedropper to fill it, so it doesn't have a clip. But functionality-wise, it's hard to beat a pen that has as few things that can go wrong. You know, these were added. Ignore those for a minute. You have a nib, a feed, a section, and a barrel, and a cap. There's really only one pen that's has fewer parts, and that's a rider pen where you unseat the feed to fill it, but you need to have the clip added to it to take the feed out, so that's not a savings of parts. Anyway, perfect little pen. What else can I show you before I hang up the phone? What's another new pen for me? Well, here's another new one. Here's, again, a pen that only I could love. And it was, again, in a box, a baggie of broken pens that collectors wouldn't want. So you're a collector. I can tell. You too, both of you are collectors. And you're going to say, oh, Pierre, why do you even bother with a pen like that? Well, this is a Waterman Commando, and it's supposed to have one of those transparent ends, which is made of horrible plastic that eventually decayed. So there just turns to mush. But from here to the top and the cap, it works perfectly fine. And though you two collectors in the audience wouldn't want this pen anywhere near your collection, you know, a good artist or calligrapher would be very happy with this nib and this pen, and they wouldn't care about that. Now this nib is a little scratchy, and I think I need to reset the nib. The tines are like this, so I'm hitting the edge. I'm just trying to find the sweet spot here by slightly moving it around, and I'm not hitting it, which may mean taking the feed out and the nib out and finding again the sweet spot. We'll just do it while now that my hands are dirty. First of all, let's see if when you take the nib out and you have the nib all by itself, you can see if the tines are screwed up. And they are a bit. So taking your magic fingers and lining them up. That did the trick. Taking some Pen Repairman spittle, which I just did, saliva, and I was just wondering if there was a crack or something. There doesn't seem to be. So let's put it back. And I'm just going to assume that everything was perfectly fine, so I'm going to put it back that way. This is kind of loose in here, and I don't know why it would be. Yes, that's much smoother. This would be a good pen for a drawer. You have to put it new sack in it. Yes, I do have to put a new sack in it. So even with this little problem, an artist or calligrapher would be more than happy to have this at their desk and to draw with it or write with it. So now look at me. Let's see if I can show one more pen. Do I have another pen to show you? I'll show you this one. This is a Dun pen. I bought this at the Philadelphia Pen Show as well. I think this was another pen that was in a baggie of pens. And I don't fix the Dun pens. And they have a sort of a pump system that makes them work, and I just don't have the desire to fix them. But this has a really nice little nib on it, and for me, much of my work I do sitting here right at this very desk, and oftentimes I just dip the pen and draw, and by dipping it, you know, there's still a lot of ink held by the feed, so I don't have to dip very much. And this is really a nice, as you can see, a really nice nib on it. Very long Pen Repairman spittle, very long tines, really nice. Come on, Pierre, focus. Well, anyway, you can imagine. Very long, elegant tines, very nice spring to the nib, and you know, maybe I can find someone to fix the pen for me so it works the way the Dun Pen Company wanted it to work, or I can just dip it as I'm doing now, or perhaps I'll have a nice barrel that I can put that nib in and use it on a different pen. It's a little scratchy. Why is that? Just a little bit. Pens that are scratchy, the last thing I'm going to do to a perfectly good pen nib is to try to use emery paper to fix it. I know that's the first thing that many people do, and I just will not do that because I'm taking away something that I can't put back. Those little molecules of iridium fly off into space without, and they're never going to come back. So what I did, as you can see, well, maybe you can't, yes you can see, I shoved the nib this way so that the two tines meet. Now, I will try to do that correctly now that I know that it can be fixed. I will take the nib out. Come on. God damn you. Take the nib out. Boy, you're tough. Why are we so difficult? Well, I was going to reset it, but it doesn't seem to want to come out. So I'm just going to shove it back in. It just needs to be reset. And I think I can do that when I have more time. But it's a really sweet little nib. And the one thing I don't like about this pen, and I don't know why I don't like it, it seems really, really light. in my hand, and I don't know if they were made it out of light hard rubber, or if it's just a figment of my imagination, or what, but it feels light, and that bothers me a little bit. If I had my scale, I'd be able to tell you how much lighter it is, and maybe it's just a figment of my imagination, but there's something about it that seems light. They're a really sweet nib. But scratchy, because the nib is a little, yep, I have to do that. When it's offset like that, it works, it feels just fine. So I just have to reset it. Okay, one last pen. I have another one I can show you. Anything else that's new? This isn't new. Ignore that I'm showing you this one. Come on. Here's another new one. Okay, this is another one that came out of a baggie, and it really doesn't belong. The cap and the barrel don't belong together, but they fit together fine. The cap is a Parker of some sort. It says Parker right there. Made in USA. Maybe it just has, I don't know what's wrong with it. Has one of those kind of fillers. But I was very surprised at the flexible nib that it has. That was not expected. And a pleasant surprise. And even though it seems to be a mismatch of 2 or 3 different pens, it works perfectly fine. So maybe it is a Parker. Is this a Parker? You people out there that know these things? I don't think it is. But it works really, really nicely. Okay, I'm done. Say goodbye, Raymond. Bye. Toodaloo.